Hello, everybody. Welcome back to A Nightmare on Fear Street. I am here with a Fear Street review because I saw Mind, Body, Spirit, and it was a damn good time. If you like fan footage, you like yoga, you like influencers, you want to feel sad and feel seen as a millennial, get into it. It is on VOD, and I am here with the people who wrote and directed it because that makes sense to talk to the people who make it and ask them to answer for their crimes. So I listen, yeah, ha ha ha. So I'm here with the writer directors Matthew Merenda and Alex Heen. Did I still butcher it? Anybody?
Yeah, you did. It's all right.
No, fix it because
It's Alex Heens.
Alex Heens. See, if I had my glasses on, I would see that you spelled your name correctly and I spelled it incorrectly, and I would have gone with what you had done.
There was, you were, it just, there's a high chance it wasn't going to happen. So it's okay.
Good intentions are not good enough. Almost doesn't count, as Brandy said. And so you are Alex Heens, and we've gotten it. We've locked it in now, and I will get it right, and I will put my glasses on next time, so I'm a real person. But welcome to A Nightmare on Fear Street. We have a few questions we like to ask everybody so we can get to know you and sort of see what you're into, because horror is a big ass subgenre, as we all know. And so first question first, what's your horror origin stories? Was there a piece of horror media that really pulled you in, or were you just immediately spooky when you popped out? Tell us.
I feel like I've always been able to sense supernatural beings and presences and entities. I'm actually in my childhood home right now that my best friend bought from my parents. So when I come to town, I stay in my childhood home, and it's this really old house, and it is choked with ghosts. And I feel like I just was constantly sort of passing through them or by them. And they're all really good. They're good, good ghouls. And they never caused us any problems, but they're definitely there. And I think and there's a boiler room downstairs that is maybe the scariest place on earth. It's like a pre-dressed conjuring set, with mirrors that have tarps over them, and it's terrifying. And I always remember getting sent down to get shit out of there, when company came over. And it was the chore no one wanted to do. So I think that's probably where it all started for me.
I mean, that's brave of you to still be in that home. I definitely lived in 2 haunted houses. And after the second one, I just started blaming my mom. I figured she's haunted and it's not the houses. And I left. But good on you for sticking it out and working with those lovely ghouls. Yeah, I'm happy to hear that is working out for all of you and your spirits. Matthew.
Yeah, I mean, besides movies being a huge part of it for me, when I was about 6, so I grew up in a town with a Navy Air Force base in it, and they would run a haunted house, a haunted hayride every year. And when I was 6, when we first moved there, I went on this haunted hayride, and those guys don't fuck around. And so I would say that might be the origin point where I was pretty much laying on the bottom of the hay cart the entire time with my hands over my eyes, just listening to screaming and chainsaws and horrible sounds for about 30 minutes. And I came out of it changed, and here we are. So I would say that would be the origin point for me.
That has got to be the most traumatic of all the stories I've heard. And we've been doing this for almost 4 years. As of this weekend, it'll be 4 years. So way to win. I'm really happy you healed.
That's one of those things that you don't understand as a kid. It's why are these adults trying to scare me? And then you become an adult and you're scaring children just randomly
awesome.
It's the most fun thing in the world. Being left alone with a baby and you're oh, and you're I just formed a deep traumatic memory for you, and you're welcome.
Because they're gonna remember that somewhere in the back of their brains and go on to make horror movies, and they're never gonna thank you because kids are rude. But you inspired it. You did.
Oh, 100%. And shout out to all the people who scared me. you're fucked up, but you did something right, you know?
That's what family's for
Yeah.
trauma and scares. That's why so many creative people are out here. What is your favorite scary movie? Let's start with Matthew and then go to Alex, so we could like make people stay on their toes. Yeah.
Halloween is my first and best and easy answer. I saw it when I was about 10 or 11 on TV late at night once, and there was something very primal about it being this movie that wasn't like at a summer camp or in the middle of nowhere or in some spooky haunted mansion. It was like in the suburbs where I was living. There was no rhyme or reason for the terror that was happening, and it was very unstoppable as you're watching it. So it really affected me as a kid. And then as I got older, I kept coming back to it for the efficiency, the craft, the way it's made, the story behind the making of it. All that stuff is kind of feeds into it and just makes it a movie that you can grow up with. And so it's still one of those things I watch quite often because I find it inspiring just as I find it terrifying.
Yes, I'm a Halloween stand account. Michael Myers was an imaginary friend when I was a child in my haunted house. So yes, thank you for understanding and respecting my friend. Alex,
the conversation probably wasn't very deep though, huh?
No, he doesn't say a whole lot, which is why I'm happy. I think I found him after Freddie because Freddie never let me speak. And I was just like, it's my imagination. This feels wrong. I know I'm 4, but still. Yeah. I should have some agency, whatever my word was at the age of 4, because we didn't have agency when I was 4. But I was just like, you know what? I bet Michael would listen to me, and he did.
He's a good listener. He's a good listener.
Yeah, best Tea Party person ever. Like
feminist icon, Michael Myers. Good listener.
Listen, because he always is information for Laurie Strode. He's always following her. He's always letting her lead. He's like,
he's got her back, girl. He's got her back.
Listen.
So you can stab it, to be clear, but
right,
like, he does have her back.
Support is support. So like, what is your favorite scary movie, Alex?
I would say The Thing is my favorite scary movie. It's a movie that's really grown on me quite a bit. Like it's evolved the way that I love it. Like I think when I was a kid, I loved it for all the reasons that you would love it as like a teenage boy. It's gory, it's goopy, it's kind of fucking crazy. But I think as I've gotten older, and especially as I've gotten deeper into filmmaking, I've come to appreciate sort of like the craft of it, the storytelling, the practical effects,
yes.
The cold open, which I don't even think I really like understood that much as a kid. And now as an adult, I'm like, that's fucking cool. Like you're just like, there's a helicopter chasing a wolf through the tundra, Arctic tundra. And it's like, what's going on? Like it's so arresting. And then I think also I've been reading a lot of queer horror text and a lot about how there's been like sort of like queer culture has sort of been like reframing the movie and through a queer lens. And it's really cool to read about just sort of the idea of like being in a group of men and feeling like you don't belong, like you're the odd one out, like you're the other. I just think there's like, it's a movie that constantly I keep finding layers to peel back. And on top of that, it just fucking rules. Kurt Russell with the flamethrower, it just fucking rules.
You could not stop Kurt Russell in that era. He was the moment. He was every movie. They were all in him. And I just love that. He literally rolled from movie to movie, same mullet, same boots. Like, let's do it. Showmanship. I also love that both of you brought up John Carpenter. And not any John Carpenters, but like the best too. Like I'm on record saying that in so many places. I wish I was lying to you. So thank you for having taste off the bat.
You're so welcome.
Because it's awkward when people roll in and they don't have taste, and you're like, "That's your movie, okay?" Thanks.
And then you pretend like your internet goes out,
right? It's like I too love that movie. Oh no, this is not working anymore. Right?
Oh, I spilled a whole a glass of water on my computer.
Right. We'll definitely call you back in the next however many years. And so yeah. while we're talking about favorites, what is your favorite subgenre? Because I'd like to know, because your movie's kind of a mixture of a few things. Because it's very found footage, but also there's some body horror, there's some hauntings, there's some old ladies getting loose. So what is your favorite subgenre?
I don't even know how to describe it out. This is very like modern internet lingo, but like kind of cringe horror.
Oh God, yes.
Like we've been inundated with all these ads for the Speak No Evil remake, which I am like just kind of dreading in the worst way. I'm just like, this is just gonna fucking suck.
Yes, thank you.
The original film got under my skin in a way that like not many movies have since. And it was like, I don't know, it just tapped into something like really primal and cringy that I feel like kind of like Nathan Fielder has really mastered, although, you know, like he doesn't necessarily do horror, but there is something kind of horrific about it. Like Shiva Baby is another one that,
God, yes.
You know, you're really just like, oh God, how much more of this can I handle? I'm really into that. Yeah. I don't know. It's like, it feels like very modern millennial anxiety driven horror, which is kind of what I like about it.
I love that, because a lot of times horror is in weird places and people don't want to own it. Like there's so many shows, like you can't watch Atlanta and be like, this is not somehow under the horror umbrella.
Oh my God. Yeah. The opening of season 3, like when they're on the boat.
God, yeah.
Yeah. Like that is one of the scariest things I've ever seen. It's so good.
There was a whole season where people were just trapped. Like every episode, somebody was trapped in something or somewhere. And it's the Teddy Perkins season, which is especially
Teddy
creepy.
Perkins is like a perfect short film. It's like incredible.
He should be up there with like Freddie, Michael, and Chucky. Like that was disturbing. I don't know what they're doing with that character.
That episode was for people for like what feels like a small contingent of us. They're like, I'm not really into Michael Jackson. Like he scares the shit out of me. Like people are like, he's a legend, he's an icon. It's like, I understand that objectively, but like he also was like a ghoul. Like he looks like a ghoul and he scared me.
I love that word.
A lot of the iconic people were ghouls. They were roaming around their mansions in their bathrobes with their goblets of who knows what, doing the most. And I think that we have to unpack why we are drawn to like wealthy ghouls and why we make them so iconic.
Yeah, Kurt Cobain, Last
Days. That's a subgenre.
Listen,
wealthy ghoul.
Next prompt for the next movie. I love it. I would only take 5% because I'm not going to like work on it, obviously.
that is really diplomatic of you.
I'm an ideas girl. It's fine. I know my lane. What is your favorite subgenre, Matt?
I mean, this is kind of a bullshit answer, but I don't really have a favorite per se. I have many that I tend to gravitate towards, but what I like about, at least recently, is the range and variety of horror that we've gotten. Like when you have stuff like Pearl or X, and then Barbarian, and then Nope, and Smile, and like kind of runs the gamut of like supernatural to slasher to like big scopy stuff. And I think what's interesting is how technically proficient the genre is now. And so I guess my subgenre would be like the stuff that doesn't do that. That's sort of like getting back to like grittier, grimier, like a little more like I just watched In a Violent Nature.
Yes.
And I personally felt like it kind of petered out a little toward the end, but there's a real tactile quality to the rest of it that felt very like even just the sound design, like everything felt like very present and very like I felt like I was there in that, and I like that sort of like a little bit grittier take. But yeah, I don't I don't know. I like all of it. I think anytime anyone tries to do something interesting with a subgenre, I'll tend to be interested in it.
That's cool. It's not
Boring.
spicy, right? Thank you. It's not spicy. it's very.
I said it was a
pageant
bullshit
girl.
answer.
No, it
I
is
said
very
it was a
pageant
bullshit
girl.
answer.
It's like I'm rooting for everybody who makes movies. We're not. I'm like, we're rooting for people who make good movies, and we are here for people who make movies. That's who we are, a support group. What draws you to the genre as a filmmaker? Because you could be doing anything you want. Like you've paid your dues, you have your equipment, you found your people. You could make rom-coms and call it a day. What wakes you up and excites you about horror specifically?
I'd love to make rom-coms and call it a day.
Do it. I won't watch them, but I will support you. You support all filmmakers.
I personally, there's something about horror specifically that is, like we were just talking about the subgenre stuff. Like I think it's one of the most flexible genres in that you can make a movie like Shiva Baby and have that kind of be a horror movie, but it's also a drama and a comedy and a character study, and you can do so many things in the genre that are counterpoint or playing into what you want, and it allows you to have both character and idea and message, and couple that with thrills and suspense and all that fun stuff. So it's just like it presents the biggest sandbox, I think, to a storyteller and a filmmaker. So
Agreed. What about you, Alex?
I agree with Matt, and I'd say to build on that too. I think like just in terms of like logistically getting a film off the ground, it's a lot easier to sell a high concept that you have or a script that you have if you're selling it to the people who are going to fund it as a horror film, because horror is just a money printing machine. I mean, it is just a genre that will live on forever. It's like something we crave as moviegoers, and I think just as like humans, like we just want to be scared, which is why horror will outlive us all, but that also, I think, provides an opportunity for people who have an idea that they're really passionate about. It's like if you can find a way to sort of channel that through a horror lens, you're a lot more likely to be able to tell your story and sort of get your ideas out there. So I think it's if you're a starting filmmaker, first timers like us, I think that's the way we made this happen. And I don't think we could have pitched, Dan, the executive producer, on making a romantic comedy for the amount of money that we made this for. Right. I think he would have been like, because it just, it just doesn't like kind of make sense. But I think, it opens a lot of doors. Horror opens a lot of doors for creatives.
Agreed. As somebody who spends way too much money on this genre, yes. That's
a good thing, though. Support indie horror. I mean, that's what's so cool about it. And I think because so many people are willing to give horror opportunities, you're getting a lot more interesting ideas. Because that sandbox is so wide open. Like I go to horror for the more interesting conceptual ideas. I don't think that they're really being applied in any other genre.
Yeah.
Listen, I've tried some non-horror movies recently. They were not great. So yeah, I have to agree with you. So when did you both know you want to make film and you want to make horror movies? Because like, again, we love them, but also people look at you sideways. There's like, what do you mean you want to throw blood on people? And I'm just like, yes, do more of that. So like, when did you know you wanted to be a horror filmmaker?
I knew when I was like 12. And if you go to my Instagram, you can see I posted for the release of Mind, Body, Spirit, I posted some of my old film clips. And one of them was for a film I made called Bug Beach, about some killer bugs that came up out of the ocean or something, or I don't know. It was like, there was like a comet, but basically I dug a hole and had my little sister, half her body in the hole. And then my mom, who was so supportive of me, in my earliest endeavors, went out and bought red food coloring and chicken livers, which I laid out on the sand, like as her guts. And I think that taste for the macabre and disgusting has not left me, and I don't know if it ever will.
If this movie gets a physical release, please somehow talk them into letting that be one of the extras, because I think that
shit.
we need
Yeah,
that.
we should have put our old movie.
What
It
we
is
are,
getting
we're gonna
physical
our
release.
Blu-ray is gonna be coming out. It's being released through Massacre Video, and it's gonna be coming out, I think, in the next month or so. You can
it's available
it
for
now.
pre-order.
Shout out the pre-order. Shout out Massacre Video.
Yes. Congrats on that. That's a question I don't have to ask later. You can get a physical copy, everybody, within a month. Yay.
Yep. And it has a director's commentary. So if you are enjoying the sound of our voices, you can listen to them over the top of the whole movie if you want. And if not, you can listen to it without to.
You can also just watch the movie. Yeah.
Classic style.
Watch it
They call those
way.
people originalists.
The purists who want to just hear the movie. Boring.
Yeah, finally the way you can see the movie the way we intended, which is with us talking over the entire thing.
Over it.
I love that. What was your journey, Beth?
Oh, similar to Alex. I think it was whenever I figured out that my friends were cool with me just like throwing fake blood all over them and screaming, and which is like, I guess it's a testament to my friends and kind of that core of people being willing to be like, yeah, sure, we'll do whatever. This is fun. And yeah, just kind of never stopping doing that, I guess, since I was a little kid.
I love both those answers. Those are good answers, especially with the chicken gizzards gets involved, because that is definitely
that was the fun shit. I mean, like I remember building my own like kind of blood rig that had like a pump that would be like a hose, and like you would. The thought of like a squib. I read so much about squibs when I was a kid. Yes. I probably should have been taken to see a psychologist. But
then you wouldn't be making cool movies. You'd be boring.
And be like, don't be so obsessed with all this super gnarly shit, and then we wouldn't be here.
Right? Like, if you'd gone to therapy, you wouldn't be talking to me today. And so
yeah. So remember, kids, don't go to therapy.
Right?
Yeah. Make movies instead.
Instead.
Then you too can be on A Nightmare on Fear Street. What is, because you've made your first feature now, and you've made a bunch of shorts, it looks like. What is one piece of advice you want to give to aspiring filmmakers who are perhaps coming up behind you or about to be in the same situation you were for your first feature?
I think learn how to market yourself. I think something that we've been on our sort of podcast circuit, we've talked a lot about. The way that Matt and I met was at a trailer shop where Matt cuts movie trailers and I write movie trailers. That's both of our full-time jobs.
Nice.
Even right now. And I think if you want to make a feature, you should think about your next short as a proof of concept for a feature idea. I think that's a great way to sort of like sell people on an idea that you can pair really nicely with a script. It's something that Matt and I do quite a bit. And then also the idea of like sort of maybe shooting a trailer for your movie, like there's just really cool ways that I think you can show off your creativity and talent while also finding a way to market your ideas to people who oftentimes are not really creatively minded, but they have a lot of money. And a trailer is like a universal language. They'll understand it. They'll see that you have the vision to do something like that. So I think, just learn to market yourself is my main pitch.
It's important.
I agree. It's being in the marketing side of the industry gives you a window into filmmaking on a bigger scale, oftentimes, but it's the same thing applies to any element of the industry. You have to show people what you can do before they'll pay you to do it. And in what Alex said, I think that's been something filmmakers have done for a very long time, is like making shorts, making trailers. It's changed and given so much more opportunity for people to see it with the internet now. And like, we're at that age where it's kind of moving way past us. And we're like, well, I don't even know what advice I would give to a 16-year-old, but I think use the tools you have to put yourself out there and show whoever might be watching what you can do.
I love that. Our last general question before we get into possible spoiler territory for this movie. What is your dream project? Like, if I were to stumble into $1 billion and I'm just like, what do you want to do? What would it be?
I'd want to make like 105 million dollar movies. Like I think Alex agrees. Like we want to live in that sort of low to mid budget range and like have that creative freedom and keep making them. There's no like, this is the thing. It's the process for me of like being on the set, working with the actors, working with the crew, editing the movie. Like that is the juice.
That's the juice, baby. And yeah, I think we want to make a creature feature too. That's very high on our list. We're both big creature feature fans. I love an animal that is enlarged in some way, you know? It's like, it just never fails. It's like, it's this, but it just got bigger. And you're like, I'm in. Sign me the fuck up.
I'm happy you said that because first off, we don't get a lot of good creature features right now. And while I was watching your movie, I'm just like, this is cool. But also, what if this was applied to perhaps an older situation, an older creature? Because again, I don't want to get too far into spoilers because we're about to do that. But I saw Grands and I saw the vision and I would like that. Just saying, I don't have $1 billion, obviously, because you see where I live. But if I did, I'd support that.
Hey, listen, if there is someone out there with $1 billion and you want to make a sequel to this movie with a creature in it, just hit us up.
Listen,
DM us, slide into the DMs with the $1 billion ready to go on Venmo, and
yes,
we can make something happen.
You can do it today.
Perfect.
And if you don't want to do it, you can Venmo me $1,000 as a finder's fee, and I'll message them on your behalf.
You are a savvy business person, and I just want to shout you out. You're never not looking for your cut, and you are very vocal about it. Like
I respect that.
You're gonna go far.
I just spent 4 days in LA, so I learned a lot.
Always get your name on the contract.
Listen, it's just like I want my name there, and so I see the finished product, and then we'll negotiate from there. But yes, always be there first.
Yeah.
For the people who don't want spoilers or don't want to know anything about this movie, by all means, hit pause on here. This is going to live on the internet forever, as long as there's the internet, which, I mean, I think's forever. Because we're about to get into this movie because it's a good movie and I want to talk about it. And first questions first. Congrats on your first feature. Thanks for confirming that because the internet lies a lot. And I was like, what if it's not? What if I'm that fool? So thank you for letting me know that Google and me got it together. How did you know this was what you wanted your first feature to be? Like what made you lean in and go, I think this is our idea that we need to like focus on first?
It's kind of like a combination of opportunity and ideas. Because like Alex said, we were working together and wanted to create stuff. And Dan, one of the former owners of that company, was in a similar mindset of like, we should make something, which I think is something a lot of people have when they move out here to get into making movies, fall into a job that's tangential to it, and you're, not doing it. There's always that like, hey, we had a couple drinks and we're like, we should make something, man. And that's kind of what happened. And then from there we made a short, and then Alex kind of had this great idea for a feature, and we started talking about it, and I'll let him elaborate on it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if this is the first feature we would have like would have occurred to us to make, but it was like it was this sort of like everything just kind of aligned in this way. It was like post-pandemic, the movie Host had just come out.
Yeah.
And that was a huge inspiration for us because it was just like, it was, 55 minutes long. It was like clearly done on such a small budget, and it really got the juices flowing for us. And I had this idea, this short idea that Matt was like, I feel like we could expand this into a feature. And it just so happened that idea really allowed for a really small cast, a very small crew, something that we could do on a low budget. So it wasn't like the top of our list of ideas that we wanted to make, but it was the one that we could make then. So we decided to like put everything we had into that idea. And it kind of became something that we fell in love with, you know. It's like, I think we were like, this is the one we can make, so let's do it. And then as we got further into it, it was like, this is a cool first one to make. Like, this is a place, this is like a movie where we can sort of like flex our muscles a little bit and like try some shit out and see what works and what doesn't. So there's definitely an experimental aspect to it, like just on our end as creatives. But yeah, it was, it ended up being, it's kind of turned into something bigger than we ever imagined it would. So it's been huge.
Like it's a lot to unpack, which is what you love to see in a movie, because so many movies are so surface these days. So it's like, oh, that was it. Thanks for the moral. And so I love that it's like, we can talk about this, or we can go down this rabbit hole, or we can get into this, and it all connects and makes sense. I'm a fan of things that make sense and connect.
That's a great way of putting it, because like I'm glad you brought that up. Is I think we were like, cool, yoga horror movie, like that's something different.
Yes.
There's a way we can do this really cheaply and like effectively. But I think the further we got into it, the more we like thematically we discovered it was like a place for us to sort of vent a little bit and to, you know, to like sort of question some things about ourselves as artists and as people. And I think like it was like strange, because I think sometimes the thematic can sometimes be your inroad into the idea, but this time it was like we reverse engineered the thematics out of the story, and with every new draft we brought more of ourselves into the story, and it was like really beautiful in that way, very therapeutic.
Yay. We love that. That also makes a lot of sense, because like it on the surface, like, you know, when people are selling the things like, oh, it's about an influencer, but it's about so much more than that, because you have 3 generations of women, which I appreciate, this intersectional horror podcast. And I love when men give us stories about women and you don't go, men wrote this, I hate it, and throw it out. So off the bat, thank you for that.
You're so welcome. I'm glad that was not your reaction.
Yeah.
No, it's such a low bar, but you'd be not surprised by how many people just can't.
You have to write people like people. That is the thing.
Yeah.
It's like,
yeah.
Women are people, men are people. We share a lot of, you know, we share almost everything, you know, and it's like, I think we chose Anya being a woman for a specific purpose. There's no male influencer who's going to even question what they're doing at any given moment, or have any moment of like, like what is this? What am I doing this for? They're just going to be like, I fucking rule. This book rules, and fuck the rest of you, you know. But I think there's something very human about that cross-generational story, you know, that I think
it would have been, hey guys, we got 5 tips to let your grandma invade your body right now. Here's number 1. And that would be the whole movie. It would be 10 minutes, and then, you know.
It would have been, Chad would have been like, I've invented possession. You're welcome. I'm killing it. I'm crushing it. Also, we've changed the name. It's not possession anymore. It's a repossession. You've never heard of that. And it's like, go home. Get off my screen. Like, but yeah, no, you have, again, those 3 generations of women, one of which is not technically in this mortal coil anymore, but it's still doing a lot. And you also have,
she keeps busy.
She's busier than I am, and she's more mobile, which again, we love haunted grandmas. Like it is a very small lexicon of movies where women get to be, especially older women, get to be the big bads. Like I did a little bit of research last year, so like, where are the girls at? There was like maybe 20 grandmas I could find out of the bajillions of movies that we all know and love. And so like, were you aware you were adding to a very niche little corner of, I don't want to call her a monster. She's not a monster, perhaps, but something wicked. You were adding to a very small lexicon of wicked older women.
I don't know if we were necessarily aware of that element of it, but I do think there's a really strong like draw and interest in like the witch, right? Like as a element, like as a thing. And I think it's an archetype that is powerful. And I think whether you have a good relationship or a bad relationship or somewhere in between with your mom or the matriarchs in your family, you feel that strength and that sort of, I don't know, that sort of interest and being like, well, where do they come from? What do they want? What are they doing? Like, I don't know. It's just kind of, but it's good to know that it's like I guess it's not good to know that it's a niche subgenre, but it's good to know that we are able to contribute to it.
I appreciate it because, again, I am an aspiring older woman, and I would like to know that I'm causing chaos in the afterlife. It gives me hope for my future.
Hell yeah.
So, yeah.
Hell yeah.
I'm going to haunt somebody. I haven't decided who yet, TBD. But I'm going to haunt some folks. I
love that.
Thank you. Maybe I'll haunt you. I don't know. Like, is your house full? Like, is there room for one more?
We'll put you on the list.
Thank you. I'll check back in a couple months because life is hard. So I was listening to Bloody Brides, obviously, because we love Jamie and Bobna. And you talked a little bit about the hereditary allegations, because when we see a grandma who's left a plan for her family, we think hereditary, heads will roll. I'm just curious, people who've seen this movie and talked to you about it, what other movies are they getting? Like, what other things are they trying to like pick up in the DNA, and are they true or not?
We get a lot of incantation, which I haven't seen actually.
You should. It's on Netflix. It's so good.
And Host, obviously, I think people see the connection there. People really tap into the hereditary thing. And that, I mean, obviously was a massive influence, but I think, like we said on that podcast, I think hereditary is so much about how generational trauma can just like dissolve us and break us down. And I think this movie is in this very specifically millennial way, is about how generational trauma can like drive us, and push us to kind of want to be successful in spite of the generations before us, you know? Mm-hmm. And the sort of dangers of that, like, which is just kind of dipping into things you don't understand, you know, like moving forward in spaces that you can't possibly understand. But yeah, I think people tap into a lot of our influences, like Evil Dead, you know, you got a creepy book.
Evil Dead was, for sure.
Floating camera.
Yes. The camera and the books.
Rosemary's Baby was one people brought up.
It's the haircut, which was not your idea.
But it is a movie about someone being manipulated without really realizing and going down this path to an end that's like pretty fucked. And so it was one of those things we thought of. We're like, oh, she has short hair. It's kind of like Rosemary's Baby. And then people saw it and we're like, did you think about this and that? We're like, yes, we definitely thought about that. So I appreciate it, but was it intentional? No.
I love that, because like when you start the movie and you're like, it's going to be another influencer thing, which it ends up being so much more than that, which again, we love a reveal. We love to be like, ha ha ha, you thought it was one thing. It's better than that. But when I was like, oh, it's an influencer thing, I was like, it's giving a little bit of Spree. It's giving it a little bit of like Superhost. It has a bodies moon. I'm here for all of these signs. And then it was like, grandma's getting loose. And I was like, well, there goes my references. So, yeah.
Yeah, no, there's like, what I love about this movie is that it's a movie with a lot on its mind, because we had a lot on our mind, but I don't think we're necessarily trying to answer or definitively answer any of the questions that we bring up. I think there's a lot to chew on, without sacrificing the sort of fun and freakiness that I think makes it so fun, that makes it so like memorable, you know?
Yeah. Because like at the heart of this, Anya is definitely someone we all know. Whatever we think about her varies, because there's times where you're like, I feel bad for her, because we've all millennials and Gen Z, we've all quit some things to be like, I'm starting over, fuck this. And it works sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it's not as fast as we would like it to be. And then we have those people who are also like, I'm trying to be seen so badly and I don't know who I am, and they just are lost. And so there's those levels where you do feel bad for her. And then there's also those times where she's like slamming her green juice and receiving it and you're laughing at her, or she's getting into a fight with Kinsey, and I'm like, both of you are basic white girls. You're both kind of a problem. And so I love that you give her space to be kind of a mess, because I think we're all a mess, and that's relatable. There's no question in that. I went on a whole ass rant. That's just a compliment. It's free. Thanks.
No, I
Thank
think
you.
I remember I was a huge fan of the HBO show Girls, and I remember people really hating that show, and they're like, all these characters are so unlikable. And I was like, do you want to know why that is? It's because they are you, and you hate yourself, and that's okay. But you have to just like admit that, like that you are a Marnie, you're a Jessa, like I'm sorry, you have to know that you're a Marnie, and the reason that you don't like Marnie is because she is you. And I think that was something that we went into this knowing that was going to be kind of the case with Anya, is that like she sort of reflects back to you these like kind of ugly and uncomfortable and cringy things about our existence as internet people that we don't really want to know about ourselves.
Yeah.
Listen, that was actually one of my questions. Are the people who you wish would see themselves in some of these characters and commercials seeing themselves? Or are they just like, LOL, that's funny, I don't see me? Like, what has the response been?
I think the people that are the most obnoxious in those categories don't, because they're not looking for it, right? They kind of just speed past it in their own sort of, path, or momentum carries them over it. But I think there's a lot of people that if they're looking for it, it's there. And I think you can either you can laugh and reflect on it, right? You can kind of be like, I'm really going to think about this. You can also watch the Earth Energy guy and be like, oh, I've definitely felt this way about a product or like about something in my life and been that douchebag. But like, this is hilarious to see. So yeah, I think it's a mix. It's like some people will take from it what they want.
That's fair, because a lot of people don't want to receive, to borrow from Anya, and they just won't.
They're resistant.
They're missing out, frankly.
They need to receive. They need to receive today, because Twitter is awful. So when did you know this story needed to be told via found footage, or was that just part of it always?
I think that was part of it always.
Yeah, that was always a part. I mean, I think it was born, it's very much based on a yoga influencer called Yoga with Adriene, who's like the sort of preeminent yoga influencer.
Mm-hmm.
And, she sort of is constantly chronicling her own life. And I think that sort of like influencer to audience, direct, fourth wall breaking dynamic was really appealing to us as a way into a found footage. And like, I think that was always our path.
Cool. Yeah. Because I always wonder, because I know it's different for everybody, but I always wonder, like, was it always found footage, or was it like, now that we have this, let's see what it looks like this way? Because like the way you use like the buffering, and the way that camera's always spinning for dreadful reasons, I was like, that's really cool. So it feels like it was probably from the beginning, but I don't know people. So I'm happy.
No, it definitely was. And I think the buffering, it sort of combined a lot of things we had picked up as like sort of avid YouTube watchers and consumers of social media. Like the original concept was sort of born from my buddy Topher sending me back because I got him hooked on Yoga with Adriene, and he sent me back a video, and at some point during the video, the camera started to move and reframe. And it was like, oh, someone else is in the room. Someone else is doing this. It like broke the illusion of her in this like peaceful space just by herself doing her thing. So that sort of led into that. And then also I think anyone who's ever been on YouTube for too long knows what it feels like when the YouTube is like really hitting, and like like the algo is like, hey, I got you. Like, let me take my hand, and you're going to spend the next 3 hours staring at the screen. And you're going to watch all the ads too, because you're a little sheep. And here's your, hey, eat up.
Yep.
That's me and my insomnia at 2 a.m. every other Thursday. It's just like, oh, rabbit hole. That's fun. I didn't know any of this about any of these celebrities. Who are these people? And now let me find another video to explain who they are on top of what their problems are.
Yeah, it is a rabbit hole, and it feels like a ride that you can't really get off. And I think that was what we were really going for with the movie. Is like it's this YouTube playlist kind of gone off the rails that you just don't, the spinning wheels are just like hurtling you towards the next horrific thing that's going to happen to this person, you know?
Listen, I love that, because I think that we all definitely have feels about the buffering, because the kids today don't know. Dial-up was a nightmare. You would go to message your friends and it would be 4 days later and it would just be stuck buffering. The original YouTube, buffering. Trying to like watch Buffy illegally because we didn't know any better because we were children, buffering. And so to like bring that back and like have it be something that's like purposely scary instead of just like frustrating. I did levitate a little bit. I'm not gonna lie, just a little bit.
That's fair.
Yeah. One of the things I love is that Anya's kind of just like by herself. Only one living person is allowed in there, and it's Kinsey, which is kind of like if Anya were successful and knew how to be fake and phony already, whereas Anya's still being like, I don't know what I want to do. And I'm also very genuine, and people hate genuine people on the internet, which is why everybody has to be like, here's my gimmick, or here's my joke. And so I think it's interesting that those are the only two that get to interact in the same space that are living people. Can you talk about how maybe you created Kinsey a little bit? Because again, like she is not who we would think Anya would reach out to, but also Anya's lost, so who knows her?
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of just something that made sense to be like, if this person is starting this journey and figuring herself out, who's the opposite? Who's like super confident, has her brand on lock, is successful, and how do they bounce off of each other? And then kind of filling in backstory to, you know, kind of get a little bit of what you were saying, like make it make sense. Like they were friends when they were kids, and none of that stuff is really textual. It's all kind of implied, but you know, there is that sort of element too, where it's like, we used to be friends and then one of us shot off to stardom doing this thing. And then like, I'm going to try and do it and like fail miserably. So it just kind of came from that. And also I think the satirical elements of like, can we just play this up as much as possible? Like, what do we kind of both love and hate about people like this and the way that they act? And yeah, just kind of seeing those behaviors bounce off of each other.
I really love that dynamic, just because she is like, that's me if I were successful. Meanwhile, Kinsey also has her own problems, but like, we'll never let that slip, because that's not what gets the clicks. And I think that all of us are fighting those friendships and relationships just because everybody's chronically online now. Like, who doesn't have a hustle that takes them to the internet for some reason or other? And so it's like, that was me if I had done things differently, or if I were blonde, or what have you. And so, yeah.
It's also it's how you present yourself too, right? Like to your point, like Kenzie like has her own problems, but we don't really get to see them. Like she cracks a little bit in the last scene, but even that is like, are you performing? Are you not performing? Like how much of this is genuine versus a performance? And that's how we live our lives online.
Listen,
yeah, exactly.
Because so many people forget that online is so curated. Nobody's coming over here to be like, guess what? Everything's a dumpster fire. I fought with my mom again, even though I'm in my 30s. We're just like, guess what? I'm drinking with friends. Everything's wonderful today. There's no dumpster fires in 2024. Everything's amazing. And we know that's a lie.
Right.
But we still like let ourselves go, oh no, I'm not doing what they're doing. We're all at home sad, babies. It's fine. Like,
right.
It's so fine. Yeah.
We're all so sad. We're all just like, I was walking through the airport the other day and everyone in the terminal was just like, and I was like, this is what we are now. Like, we're all just like, we're all sitting here in the airport being like this and then being like, you know, it's like, it's like, no, you're not doing that. Like, you're not having fun. You're sitting in the terminal of an airport. Like why are we? It is like this this weird performance that maybe we're starting to like lose the thread of.
Because we're all cosplaying happiness instead of figuring out what makes us happy.
Damn.
Yep.
Damn.
Yeah. No. Like
Damn.
deep thoughts with your movie.
That really hit.
That crystallized it pretty succinctly. So kudos to you.
Yeah.
Thank you for the movie, because I wouldn't have gotten to that thought without it. So yeah, this is teamwork. This is a group effort.
Okay, so do we get 5% of that thought?
Yes. Yes. Only 5% though. If you tweet it more than twice, we have to go to court.
What are we thinking the payout? What's the payout going to be on that? what's the thought go for nowadays?
My thoughts are selling cheaply, so like I would not retire off my thoughts.
All right, not the cash grab we were hoping for, but
maybe the next thought though. Like
for sure.
There's always the next thought.
Listen, that's the moneymaker. We just have to wait for it to come. Because I've definitely wasted a lot of your time, I'm going to go ahead and skip to my favorite question.
Okay.
What's one thing you've been dying to talk about this movie and no one has asked you yet because we're heathens and we're ungrateful? What is the thing you want to talk about?
Ooh.
Wow.
That's a really good question.
I think to preface it, I would say one of the things we've both been so grateful about is when we have talked to people such as yourself or Bloody Broads or whoever, like we've answered lots of questions and talked about lots of elements of the movie I never thought we would, like thematically, character-wise, logistically. So it's tough to think of an answer for that.
I love when Kenzie's body gets pulled through the door after she dies. It was like, it just brings me so much joy every time I watch the movie, and it's not really ever remarked upon in like any reviews or anything, but it's like it's a moment that I find I'm so proud of, and it's just some real goofy like our AD like dragging her by her legs and someone else on the door who had to slam it shut. It was like very much like a DIY group effort, and I feel like it just adds something to that scene that is so unsettling. And
yeah, I would build off of that. I guess that's a great answer, Alex. Like, we haven't talked a ton about the choreography necessary with a very limited crew and a very, very small budget to make all that stuff work, and how challenging, but also how fun it was. Because it was like directing this sort of like live circus, to be like, especially when the camera's moving and there's all these things happening, or the scene where there's lots of Anyas running back and forth, like to have one of us behind camera and one of us at the monitor, and we're all sort of like giving hand signals and whispering things and being like, go, and like tapping people on the shoulder. And like, it was a very fun, like almost directing theater in a way, because all the shots were like these longer takes. So that was that was a lot of fun to just sort of like get everybody's energy up and be like, okay, we only have like 3 chances to get this, so let's get it.
I love both of those answers, because whenever somebody's dragged across the floor, I have a great time. I'm sorry to the actor and whoever has to drag them around, but I love it when it happens.
Game.
Listen,
yeah.
Also, she's like the only kill we see, because I mean, possession is different. Like, clearly Anya's not gonna be with us anymore, but like, that's the only murder we see, and so you have to like make sure it lands. And like, it was brutal, but then to also be like, ha ha ha, a couple more chuckles. I appreciate that. And
who doesn't love blood smeared across the floor?
Listen, again, I cannot be in charge of anything. I'm just like, throw more blood on it. It's like, for why? No one even died because I said so aesthetically. And I also have the multiple Anya scene, because that's why I put my drink down, because I'm just like, wait, wasn't she over there? Let me set the wine aside. I think I have to like really focus.
Did you feel like you drank the tea as well?
I did. I was like, Grandma got me. Damn. So yeah,
it's interactive. We send, actually with the Blu-ray, we send a little sacket of
a tea bag
of the tea. Yeah.
Fuck, that's a great idea too. Why didn't we think of that?
Yeah.
Not too late. You have almost a month, so like you can.
That's true. We'll send a yoga block.
Sneak it in the case.
Yes, like a starter pack.
Yeah.
The Namaste edition, and I think
Oh.
that's again. I'm an idea girl.
Listen. I'm literally writing down 5%.
Thank you. I was gonna say it, but I was hoping we were in our friendship far enough along where you just knew.
It's adding up. It's really adding up. But
yeah, I mean, like friendship is costly, is what Kinsey just found out.
worth every penny.
Listen, thank you. So what is next for both of you or together? Because I don't know. Do you have individual things or a collab coming up or all of the above?
I think all of the above.
All of the above, yeah.
I'm shooting a short in September, and then Matt and I are really trying to find. I think we have a script and a proof of concept short to go with it, and we're going to be sort of taking that around to production companies and trying to raise some money for that. It's a fun sort of supernatural kind of Twilight Zone meets The Big Chill. That's our pitch. And that. It's going to be fun, and we're really excited about it.
I'm a Twilight Zone fan account because all weird children have to be. So I'm already leaning in. I'm ready to see that. I'm
Pluto
ready to
TV.
receive it.
Pluto TV, the Twilight Zone channel is like kind of my thing right now. It's the best.
It's amazing. I've been watching them in order for the first time this year. There's so many in season 1 and 2 that never got put into those marathons when we were kids. And I'm just like, this is the creepy shit. Where was this at?
Yeah, the darker, less popular stuff is out there and is very worth watching compared to. I mean, the mainstream stuff is great too, but yeah.
Like, there's an episode, and I watched it, and I was like, this is definitely where Tourist Trap came from, and also Mannequin. And I should have seen this earlier as a child because I thought those were original ideas, and they were not. So yeah.
Oh, nothing is original anymore.
No, it's all stolen, which is why
everyone lets us know that on Letterboxd. That's the only reason I know.
The people are always salty. They're just like, I've never made anything, but let me tell you what you've done wrong.
And you know what? Good for them. I can't wait for their movie to come out. I'm excited to see it. They can just let me know when that's coming.
Yeah.
My favorite.
I'll sign up for Letterboxd just for them.
Yes. My favorite response when somebody has an issue with an article I write is to ask them, where can I read their work? And then they block me. And we're done.
That's what you really want out of the whole exchange, right?
It is. It is
to not talk to them,
right? It's like we don't need to talk anymore. But also, I'm a Gemini, so I must say something bitchy to you because you tried me. That's a Monday. But this has been lovely. Thank you for stopping by Fear Street. Thank you for taking time out of your days. Please let people know where to find both of you. If you have a collab account somewhere where they can just follow you for all of the like details about your upcoming projects, or to stay in the loop for the Namaste edition for Mind, Body, Spirit.
Well, first of all, thank you, Sheree, for having us. This was awesome.
Yes. Thank you very much.
You can follow us on Instagram at Mind, Body, Spirit Film. And you can follow me at _Henes, Henes. And Matt?
I'm at Teo Snacks, TEOSNACKS.
Love that. That's easy to follow. You should follow both of them, obviously, and also Mind, Body, Spirit, because why would you sit through this and not watch the movie? That's backwards. It's sociopathic. I don't trust you. So you should definitely watch the movie if we're honest about what happened, because I definitely said some things that may or maybe not happen in the movie, and you should get a Letterboxd to let them know it's a 5-star movie when you figure that out for yourself.
Yes, exactly. Yes. And spread the word. Give it a watch, however you want to watch it. Listen, we've kind of given up the ghost on most people renting this movie, but and it'll be streaming next year. We can't really say where, but it'll be streaming on a platform.
It has Shudder vibes, but I just say that, and then I wait and see what happens in the next 2 years when I say that to Shudder.
Our lips are sealed.
Wherever it turns up, I think it's something you should watch with your own grandmothers. You can make a plan for what happens when she crosses over into that good night. So I know about that.
Yeah. Listen, I'll dig them up.
That's
and
great.
I'll put it on the iPad for them.
Listen, full service. We're entertaining grandmothers in the afterlife. I love this. Like,
we should do a VHS version just for that.
That's our responsibility as a generation. Yeah.
Somebody's grandma still has the VHS, like in Malignant. She's just there waiting for it to come back in style. I think that could be another edition. I don't have another yoga work. No, the corpse pose edition. We're here. I've watched the movie. I'm locked in. I got this.
Perfect. 5% coming your way.
20% of this movie at this point. We're not even going to see a dime on this at the rate you're going.
Wait till I make merch. Like, it's going to be great. I'll send you a discount to your own merch. It'll be great.
We're making fuck your grandma shirts, and we'll send you one.
Listen,
there you go.
I'm not going to get into my grandma story because that's another hour of our lives. But yes, fuck my grandma. And that's enough about that. Thank you all for tuning into this because this has been a ride. I'm Sheree. This was A Nightmare on Fear Street. These were the lovely people behind Mind, Body, Spirit, the movie you should be renting right now. They've given up on you renting it, but I have not, and I'm loud. So rent it. So know about that. Don't wait a whole year, weirdos. Stay fierce out there, and bye.